I think you learn a ton when you do something unconventional or not optimal when it comes to training for running. And I did 10 marathons in 10 days a couple years ago. I want to give you my perspective on some things I learned from that because it translates really well into typical regular training. And I think it helps expand perspective and maybe you don't want to run 10 marathons in 10 days, maybe you do. But if you don't and you're just kind of like a newer runner or you're just trying to improve little by little, like most of us runners, there's some things I want to talk about that'll be very helpful for you, even if you never run 10 marathons in 10 days. I did this, there's a long story, but my grandpa passed away with stage 4 lung cancer. And the morning I woke up to the text that he had passed away, I decided I wanted to do a running streak where I did at least 2 miles a day every day for a full year. And I actually went almost 3 years. But at the end of the first year of the streak, I decided to finish that off with 10 marathons in 10 days and do a charity fundraiser for the Sound of Life Foundation here in St. George, Utah. They help people who don't have the money to afford hearing aids. They help them get the treatment for hearing loss and tinnitus that they need. And we raised $20,000 in 10 days, which was really cool. Like, that was a really nice side thing. The perspective of what I got from running is, selfishly what I cared about more, but I knew if I tied a charity to it, I could do some good in the world while being a little selfish in my own expeditions. And so I'm glad I was able to help, a lot of people with that money. And now what I want to get into is maybe helping you with some of the things I learned from this, because I ran 10 marathons in 10 days. That I did 27 miles, technically marathon's 26.2, but I did 27 miles every day. I would walk the last little bit, and the last marathon I actually did 30 miles because I just wanted to push a little bit further, kind of quite literally go the extra miles. And I walked away without any injuries. And I think that's important to note because that's obviously a situation where you're at a high risk of stress fractures and tears and maybe adrenal fatigue or whatever, overloading the system. And to me, I haven't really been running that long consistently. It's been about 4 years. I've kind of ran here and there throughout high school, but wasn't consistent with it. And so the point being, I'm fairly new to running. Like, I'm starting to get into that more, like, I guess, like, I'm just don't have decades in the sport like a lot of pro athletes do. I'm going to get there someday. The point being, people can do stuff like that after many years and decades because their body is just so used to running. And I've definitely put in a lot of work, but there's some things that I think helped me do that at such a young age in running and just not having that much experience. Because when I did that, I probably had been running consistently for maybe 2 years. So now, a couple years later, I probably ran consistently for 5 years. So anyways, this is what I learned. I learned so much about recovery. I think we can train as much as we recover. I think a lot of the times we jump to overuse. I would rather frame it as an under-recovering. And the very first thing we need to talk about that I learned from this that translates really well to just regular training and running life is the idea that, like, tightness causes most injuries and pains, in my opinion. Yes, you can get a stress fracture. Yes, you can tear something. Though I want to like ask, like, what caused you to get to that point? So, for example, with tearing something, yeah, you could just tear because you're doing too much. But what if it tears because something in your body's tight, which is pulling on something, and at a certain point it tears? Not saying this is for everything, but one thing I think about is like runner's knee, for example. Not so much of a tear, but people get pain in their knee. Most common running injury. Well, if your quad is so tight, like, of course your knee's going to hurt because it's going to be pulling on it. And throughout the run, or multiple runs, it's going to get tighter, it's being used, it's contracting, so of course it's going to pull more. So I've gotten runner's knee in the past, stretched the crap out of it for 20 minutes, and then that pain completely goes away. And so I learned this, that if I just stretch for like 5 to 10 minutes after every run, it made a big dent just really helped me recover, be less tight, right? And so I would stretch very briefly after every marathon. It helped me get through all 10 of those marathons. The other thing was I was quite surprised with how good I felt after doing Epsom salt baths. I love Epsom salt, and then ice baths as well. I didn't do too many ice baths. I tried one during like this after the 6th marathon or something. It was really mentally hard to do that. And it's kind of controversial because people say, from what I've seen, if you do ice baths after training, your body needs the inflammation warning or signal to be like, yo, we got to recover and repair. And if you do an ice bath, it limits that, so then the body doesn't repair or you don't get as much gain from it. And I haven't done enough research to be like that's wrong or right. What I will say is when I'm doing crazy challenges, like 10 marathons in 10 days, it goes a long way to do an ice bath or an Epsom salt bath. So the thing with the like lack of recovery is with ice baths. With Epsom salt baths, it seems like it's pretty good, that it doesn't limit recovery. But I really do like ice baths several hours after a workout. So maybe not doing it right after a workout, so then your body gets time to settle and get those inflammation signals, and then start building and recovering, and then you do ice at some point later. That's my hypothesis. Now, I love Epsom salt baths. I think those are great, and you can get like scented, unscented, whatever you want. I can't remember the brand of stuff I use, but I've gone through bags of that stuff, and it's just really nice to get in a really warm bath or really warm water and put some of that in there. And the soreness definitely goes away for the most part the next day, depending on how much I've ran or trained. There's still fatigue, but like to just not be like uncomfortable sore is really nice. And the cool thing about the soreness thing is, or I guess Epsom salt bath is like it's like a double whammy. Like when I get in a bath like that, like the salt and the electrolytes help, and I'm stretching in the bath and I'm a little warm, so you loosen up. So, and there's heat exposure benefits, and saunas are supposedly really good for recovery. I haven't experimented with that too much, but I'm kind of doing that because you're in a really warm bath, and then the salt does whatever it does. I don't know. I'm no scientist, but I just experiment with things, and I found that that's very helpful. And so the whole summary of this video, to kind of translate it to just typical running or training, is when you're getting injuries, when you're hurt, when you're maybe worried about if you need to take time off and you don't want to go pay for an x-ray or whatever, a lot of the times you're just under recovered. And so what are the things you can do to recover? Of course, nutrition and hydration, all of those are things pretty much everyone knows about, and maybe you need to be better at that. But like to throw in like Epsom salt baths after your long run on Saturday, or stretch for 5-10 minutes after every run, it goes a long way. You can do hour-long yoga sessions a couple times a week if you want. But I think the easiest way to do this, like implement stretching, is if you don't have the time, shave off a half a mile of your run, kill your ego, and then now you have 5-7 minutes to stretch, and then stretch, and it goes a long way, and you'll feel better, and you're going to reduce your likelihood of injury. I think that's the easiest way to start implementing stretching. I get it. Like after running for 15 miles, the last thing I want to go do is like stretch and do yoga for an hour. So when you do it right after run, I promise you it goes a long way. So if you like running content, the main goal of this channel is for me to help people deepen their connection and relationship with running, avoid injuries, hit their PRs as best they can, and just talk about running. So if you like that, consider subscribing. If not, I still hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another one sometime soon. Peace.